Again, good morning, grade 10. We are still in the middle of the discussion. We are now in the speciation, okay? The birth of new species. Speciation is the evolutionary process in which new species arise from the previous species. It is the process wherein a group of one species or species will acquire new characteristics and eventually make an entire new species. Each time speciation occurs, biological diversity increases. The more biological diversity or the more diverse a species is, the more likely to have certain changes. And of course, adaptation. Okay. Taxonomy. This is one of my favorite subject when I was still in college. Taxonomy classification. Okay. Taxonomy is a branch of biology concerned with naming and classifying the diverse forms of life. It could be from kingdom Animalia to kingdom Plantae. Okay? From animals or plants. Okay? Carlos Linnaeus, the father of taxonomy, introduced a binomial system of naming organisms. It is called the Linnaean classification. Okay? It is because of Linnaeus that we can classify organisms, which is still used at the present. Correct. The two-word name given in an organism is also known as scientific name. Consists of genus and species, where organisms belong. Biological species concept. We will not tackle more about taxonomic classification simply because it will consume a lot of time. At the same time, we need to have more studies pertaining to how can we classify organisms. Was it based on their nutrition or the food that they eat? Was it based on their structures? Based on their capabilities? It could be that based on the way they create their food. Those are just few of consideration in naming or classifying organisms. Biological concepts or species concept, it views species as a population or a group of populations where members have the ability and potential to interbreed, okay, and produce fertile offspring. Morphological species concept, this is how scientists were able to identify more than 1.8 million species. Scientists make use of measurable phenotypic rates. Again, when you say phenotypic, this is the one that we can see or we can observe or observable traits. Okay? However, this method largely relies on subjective analysis and researchers may not always agree on structural features that should be used to distinguish a species. Let's go back first to biological species concept. Okay, it views a species as population or group population where members have the ability or potential to interbreed. Like for example, dog can only breed on dogs or the same family, the canine family. Okay, canine or canine. That's why they are called canine. Okay, birds can only be breed or interbreed with another bird because they belong in the same family, the avian, aves. Okay, you cannot actually interbreed a human and a dog because they belong to different families. They belong to different species. Okay? Dog belong to canine and humans belong to sapiens, homo. Okay? So that is now the biological species concept. So until now, it is really reliable and we are considering also the family or the families of this species. Ecological species concept. This identifies a species based on the ecological environment or niche or the natural habitat. Okay? Like for example, if you're in the rainforest, you can only see some plants in the rainforests which can only live also in the rainforest. Or one good example, have you seen a lichen? Lichen.
No.
Kana bitong the white one in the branches of trees sa bukid. Kanang puti ba o color ba?
Not really.
The white one in the branches of trees. Kana bitong puti-puti sa branches of trees. Una mo sa province. If you see your environment, kanang puti-puti ba? The whitish one, um those are not fungus. They are called lichen. Lichen can only live in environment or which is not polluted, which has a lot of oxygen. They can only live on that certain place. This is why you can only found that one in the provinces, away from what? Pollution. Okay? You cannot see lichen here because lichens will die eventually if it is exposed in the what? In the environment which is polluted. Anyone else saw the weird video of hybrid human and chicken? It is not possible. Again, it is not possible. Chicken is an avian or aves, and human has different number of chromosomes compared to chicken. It's not possible. Again, the other things there, we're talking about internet, do not believe on those. Some of them are not true. Okay? It will just bring you with your confusion. Okay? It just be more specific, be responsible of what you are doing on online, on what you see on the internet. You need to double check because some of them are just created to their minds. Okay? And we cannot blame them because they have the right also. Huh? That is a human right. You have also the right to verify that if it is true or not. Okay? You base that one on some of our lessons, base that one also on the one you learned all throughout our discussion. Okay? Again, chicken belongs to aves. They can lay eggs. That's why they are called oviparous because they can lay eggs. And they can also they have also different set of genes compared to humans. Okay? That is why. Right? Let's move forward. Any other concern, questions?
None so far.
None so far.
Okay. Again, going back to lichen, lichen cannot live in environment which is polluted already. Okay? That is why when I was still in college, we will usually look for lichens in some places in order for us to identify that this place is not polluted. Okay? It is actually our indicator for that particular place. All right? I want you also to be observant of your environment. You can actually observe that one. Okay? Let's continue. Polygenic species concept. This defines organism and species based on the unique genetic history. Biologists compare a species genetic code and physical characteristic with other organisms. We usually do that one. Okay? We usually do that one. Like for example, we are comparing um a before, no, we have this comparison between a lizard and some of the genes of dinosaurs because their genes are relative. They are relative. Okay. Some of the snakes also, before we also dig up some of the remains of ancient snakes. The snakes before has what? It. We have also those. Okay. You have also the genes, but the genes are really relative. So that is polygenic species concept. Okay. We tend to get the unique genetic history of that particular species. And we can actually see some changes from time to time. From this species, ancient species, going to the next species or the newest species. Are you familiar with Barracuda?
The fish?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. It is actually, it looks like our fish, the normal fish. But because they are living in a dark place, this is really dark, and to tell you honestly, light cannot penetrate on those areas. That is why they tend to change their appearance to adapt to that certain environment. Okay? That is polygenic. What else? Um, the megalodon, the ancient whales, they're really long, they're really, huge, that you can only see them before, but because this is ancient. But if you're going to examine their genes, it is relative to our fishes now. So those are just few examples of polygenic species concept. Question so far? Any idea?
None so far. No, no questions.
I think that will be all for today, class. Hopefully, you learned something out of our discussion. That will be the end of our um, module 2. And rest assured, by the next meeting, the following meetings, you will have a lot of activities or series of activities. Okay? What I want you to do now, I want you to dig more about speciation. And by next meeting, I'll be posting a lot of activities in your LMS. Okay? Do you have questions so far?
None so
None so
far.
far.
None.
How about others? The one you read or the one you saw on the internet? Any clarification so that we can address the concerns? Clarifications with the
None.
outcome of wait, Trisha said something. We will look for this. This is really what I want. No, you share something, even if it is not that really, you know, we need to dig it more. Okay. Thank you, Trisha.
Hello and welcome back to Planet New. Today we're going to be talking about something completely different. For the last 9 months or so, I've been following the
Can you see
saga
my
of
shared
the
screen?
homunculus. These creatures are created by a home
Yes, surely
baby's
do.
DNA testing in his basement. He creates these creatures by making a small opening in the egg and injecting sperm into it. He then seals it for about 40 days, and when he opens it, he gets a little creature that comes from the DNA splice. Today we will talk about this and what it means socially, scientifically, and how it relates to some of the subjects that we normally talk about. So, we'll start at the beginning. About 9 months or so ago, I was researching home alchemy And in the course of that, I found some video from a guy who was a home alchemist and who had been having some results from his alchemy. Now, if you've ever investigated alchemy or tried it yourself, you'll know that finding any proof or results is a pretty hard thing to do. There are many people who claim that they have done this or that, but proof is fleeting at best. I have never seen a well-documented video for anything related to alchemy. So you can imagine my joy at not only finding proof in the well-documented video of the end result, but also the entire process laid bare in video for us. Although he and I were trying to do very different things with alchemy that were pretty much at the opposite ends of the spectrum, at least I know that someone out there is getting some results. As it turns out, he was doing basic genetic alchemy, splicing the human gene with that of a chicken. So he wasn't exactly turning lead into gold, but it was still darn interesting nonetheless. So I watched as he created some of these things. Many folks said he would not be able to do it, and the first couple were stillborn, and he just tossed them out. But by the third time, he had one that was alive and moving. The third one was short-lived though, because it spit some kind of fluid out at him, which he called poison, and then he smashed it on the table.
Блять! Ну, теперь он точно мертв. Его так сильно раздавило. Невозможно понять. Воду. Тому подобное.
He just smashed up the jelly on the table. Although many people said he would have never been able to keep it alive anyway, that didn't stop him. Fast forward 40 days, this time he has one and he doesn't kill it, but he puts it in a glass jar and starts trying to feed it. Eventually, he figures out how to feed it with a protein mix that it absorbs through its skin. Over time, it evolves into a much larger creature that has a mouth and sucks food in as he drops it in the jar. He studies the homunculus and finds that he gets a small reading of electrical activity from it. He then decides to make another one. The second one has a totally different body, more like that of a blobby starfish than the first upright plant-like monster that we see in the first video. He would need names to distinguish them apart, so he named the first one, the taller one, Pikachu, and the second one, Slowpoke, since it's basically a blob and moves like a starfish. Unlike Pikachu, the taller one with a mouth and tongue, Slowpoke has no opening, so it absorbs all of its food through the skin, and Pikachu did until its mouth formed and opened. Slowpoke never did develop a mouth, but after a few months, he did grow an eye. Now, you can see as the eye follows the alchemist as he's talking, and then as he moves his hand near the jar, it actually moves and follows his hand. I was totally amazed when I saw this. An eye is a highly advanced feature that is very far removed from the blob-like starfish shape that we see in the bottom of the jar here. So this is a real breakthrough. The alchemist then decides to put both of the animals in an aquarium together to study their social behavior, and things really start to get interesting. As I watched, I would often wonder what the social impact was of what he was doing. Was it morally or ethically wrong to create these creatures? Well, scientifically, we cannot study the unknown without crossing some lines. But can we say the same thing socially? I also wondered at the feedback he got and how it was so very much like that we find in our own forums here. People trying so hard to debunk every little thing that we say and making very silly and base arguments.
I will cut the video first. Okay. This video, as what I had observed, I think this is talking about alchemy. Okay, alchemy is a medieval forerunner of chemistry. Okay, the purpose of having alchemy before in the medieval period is to create an organism out of conserved metals. Okay, aside from that, this is not a true science. And to tell you honestly, there's something wrong with that particular video. Why? We cannot actually again create an organism if they are not in the same family. Otherwise, it will eventually disintegrate. Why? Because sperm has how many chromosomes that your sperm contain? How many chromosomes? Human sperm. Anybody?
23.
23? Yes. Okay. 23 chromosomes and 23 chromosomes also in egg cell to make it 46. Okay. But in the chicken, it's different. Okay. Chicken has 39 pairs of chromosomes. Humans has only 23 pairs. So how could that be possible? It is really not possible, even in the modern science. Okay? So that is why alchemy is just a pseudoscience. Pseudoscience meaning it is not true. Okay? It is already proven by science that alchemy is a pseudoscience. It is not a true science. They don't have actually the basis. Alchemy before is thinking about converting something into gold. Okay? Converting something into more precious stones. So those are their concepts. But then again, we need to dig more. No, we don't really know. But based on biological structure of an abyss or avian and a human structure or a human genes, they will not match. No? They will not match. Even their sperms and their eggs. It's different. Okay? It will not work out. Right? Trisha, thank you for sharing the idea. And hopefully also everybody, you can also share something out of your knowledge or what have you seen in the internet so that we can verify that one if it is really true. Right? Do you have any questions so far, grade 10?
None
Yes,
so
so
None.
far.
Okay, I think that will be all for today, grade 10. Thank you for your time, for your participation, especially to Trisha. Thank you everyone. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.